Yeah, I'm just going to do a bit of maintenance on this crane. It's a Trix 66105 Marklin Trix crane. And it's packaged up for Marklin and Trix. They're both basically identical, each version. And I've got a problem with the gearing, one of the gears in this particular side of the drive. It's not failed completely, but it's binding, and it's a slight, I don't know what's happened. I think a bit of grit or gravel's got in there. That's a controller for it. It's a Logitech digital controller, works via like Wi-Fi, 2.4 gigahertz. So anyway, what happens is when I move the crane forward or backwards, it's not moving correctly. And it's binding. It needs a bit of work doing on it. Yeah, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to take it apart. You pull these buffers up slightly, and they just pull out. One of them at either end. Quite simple. And then what happens is the crane will just slide forward and come off, making sure you've got free access at the end for it to come off. There we go. And there we have it. The crane is off the gantry system, but really speaking, I need the top section off as well. Take the main rotating part off, so I'll unplug these buffers here and here and remove this top section because I don't want to mess with that, so I'm going to leave that. And while I've got it off, I'm going to clean up the contacts and the wheels. I'll just put that aside. So now I can work on these gearings which need attention on the inside. Just take them apart now. Yeah, that's what the box looks like for it. It's absolutely huge, the box. So well packaged as well. So I ordered some new parts about a year or so ago, but I never got around to fitting them, so I ordered a new complete gear housing and gearbox assembly for one side. I ordered some drive belts, which I didn't need, but I just ordered them anyway. And you also get some spare parts with the crane anyway, when you get it. You get some contacts, electrical contacts and other bits. Yeah, so there we go. So all we do, we're going to do 4 Phillips screws on the side of the crane. Take off that side housing. They're all off, and then that just pops off, making sure we got all the screws off correctly. That just pops off the side, and we get a really intricate motor assembly which will just fall out of place if you're not careful. It's held in a certain way. Zoom in on that. Yeah, there's a motor assembly, so obviously we can move those bits aside, and the screws, put them onto a tray on a box. What's that? And the motor just pops out completely. Quite a nice motor, that. Easily maintained. See the contacts and the brushes. That pops out, and then it's circuit boards on the top, contacts for the motor. Underneath the gearbox, there's some tiny little Phillips screws which need to come out, and they're about there, and I think we do need a tiny Phillips screwdriver, or maybe this one will do. So we take those two small screws out, one there and one there. There we go, they're only tiny self-tappers, and then the assembly just pops out. Complete assembly. Let's move that aside. And then we have the gearbox complete assembly unit, which is made of metal. I can get to the end. I'm not going to replace the whole thing, I'm just going to replace the actual gear that's failed or got a problem with. I don't know which one it is because I've had it apart in the past. And to get the gears out, we just pop out the appropriate metal pin and just push it through, and out it pops. Yeah, so the defective gear is this particular one on the end, this one here. It's quite hard to see. I'll see if I can zoom in on it. So all I need to do is pop out the pin for it, get a suitable screwdriver. Let's get a suitable screwdriver, push the pin. Oops, I've got other bits coming off at the moment. No big deal. I'm going to push that pin. Or try and push it out, it doesn't want to go at the moment. Now you just pop it out, push it from the other side, and then the gear, that pin will come out, and then we just take the gear out. There we go. Now I know this gear is the one that's got the problem. It's either that one or the one it's connected to. The next gear along. So anyway, what I'm going to do is replace this one first, this particular gear, and see if that works. See, I could replace the whole gearbox, but I don't really want to do that. I want to save these other gears in case they fail on the other older version item of it, so I've got plenty of spares which I can use on either side of the crane. Right, it's just a case of putting a new gear in, line it up, I think it goes in at the top, get the pin bar, line that pin bar up. So easy to work on this crane. Really is. Just line that up correctly and push that through, and I'll just push that pin through a bit more. Right, let's have a look. Right, and that's perfect. I'll spin it around and it's not stopping or getting caught up on any of the teeth. And that's it, it's perfect. Job done. So I'll just rebuild the crane back now. Code number is E313435. That's the spare parts list for it, for what I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm just going to rebuild, put that other, there's another wheel that came out, so I'm just going to put that back in, put the bar, slot the bar back in like that, and then basically just slot that back in to the crane. Dead easy. Get your two screws. These screws are self-tappers, I think. They go into the plastic, so you've got to be careful not to over tighten them. Just tighten them really gently. So stick that other screw back in. Very careful, not over tighten, and that's it. It's all nicely and moving nice now. That next thing is the tricky part is putting the motor back in on this. It's really tricky. It's not an easy task. You've got to be careful not to overstress anything, and you've got to line up the terminals just perfect. So the terminals, let's say now, I can't remember how to do it. Oh yeah, we have this plate. The lugs should go, that are open on that, should go to the top, otherwise it won't go back on. And reposition the pickups, the rails. Come on, get on, there we go, that's all lined up. Circuit board's lined up, motors lined up. This can be infuriating sometimes. So there we go, motor casing should go back on. Just a matter of putting the screws back in now on the casing. So you've got 4 screws, and again these are tiny self-tapper screws, so anything that's over tightened will strip the plastic, which you don't want. This is really awkward. I've lost my magnetic. I'm going to have to magnetise this screwdriver. There we go, I'm just going to magnetise the magnetizer, the screwdriver. That makes the screws obviously hold on the screwdriver end a lot better. Every now and again you've got to do that, you've got to recharge a screwdriver. If you like a magnetic tip, or if you don't, you demagnetise it. There we go, that's 1, 2, and so on. Put them in diagonally to each other so it goes on square. I'm just going to clean up the contact with some Trap Magic there, either side, on both sides. Not that bad anyway. Just run some Trap Magic across the rail. There's a bit of dirt on there, not a lot. Just got to line up the wheels on either side. Make sure they're lined up nicely. Then bring it along, making sure not to snag the contacts. Then of course line up the other side, and that is on. So what I'm going to do now is going to test it. Hopefully it should work. There we go. Struggling a bit because the track's still wet. I'm going to use a bit of Trap Magic to clean these contacts. There, clean it. Clean that rail running along. It's not a lot of dirt because it doesn't get a lot of use, this crane. And what I can do then is just manoeuvre that into position on the inner guide rails, move it up so, just clear those contacts, move it along, there we go. Yeah, everything's working nicely there. Beautiful. Well chuffed there, no grinding or clicking of the wheels. Perfect. That's working perfect and all that.